Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt. Welcome to the Sinbin, the YouTube hockey channel where we talked about everything hockey. Well, it appears like hockey is finally going to be back. At least it looks that way. A couple of weeks ago, the NHL proposed a new playoff format. Now, obviously, you guys already know the old playoff format. We would see the best 8 teams from every conference, and they would have a best of 7 series, and you would need to win 4 best of 7 series in order to exceed the Stanley Cup. Well, given the whole situation that's going on, it appears like we can't totally do that. We'll get to why a little bit later, but the new format, I got a little representation to show it, and I got to thank Hot Take Hockey. I believe he's the one that made this. But rather than the top 8 team from every conference, we would see the top 12 teams. And they would take the best 4 teams, be it the St. Louis Blues, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Dallas Stars, and the Colorado Avalanche on the West. And in the East, the top 4 teams, they're the Washington Capitals, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Boston Bruins. They've already acceded to the first round. Then you get these other teams on the side, such as the Maple Leafs, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Canadiens, the Pittsburgh Penguins, so on and so forth. They're going to be playing against each other in a best of 5 series to see who can succeed to the first round and play the top 8 teams that I've named previously. It's a little bit complicated. I'm sure that we're going to get a little bit more clarifications, as well as how is it really going to work once they get to the first round, which teams are going to play who, will the worst teams play the best teams, so on and so forth. But bottom line, hockey is back, and this is really what this video is going to talk about. Okay, look guys, in my channel throughout the year, I've always tried to take a position on any topic that it is. I'm not a big fan of fence walking. I'm not a big fan of pleasing both sides. I usually take a position. It's usually the position that I really feel strong about, and I defend my opinion, and I give my position. Now, with all that being said, when I look at this new playoff system, I'm completely split down the middle if I like it or not. This rarely ever happens to me. Again, I usually take one side and I defend it. But when it comes to this, there's some things I really like, and there's other things where I have a few questions about. And this video, I wanted to discuss about that. So let me start with the good, because believe it or not, I'm an optimist more so than a pessimist. So let's start with the good about this new playoff bracket. Well, the first thing that jumps off the page is hockey is back. That is a really good thing. It may have not have been obvious to you and me, but it would have been very easy for Gary Bettman to say, okay, the virus happened, let's just scrap the season, no one gets the Stanley Cup, we'll resume next year and have the good old 82-game format. That could have been very easy, but I think that would have been really cheap to the fans who have watched their team so far this season. So having a playoff, no matter what the format is, I view that as a good thing. And when I see that, it's hard for me to complain. I'm very happy hockey is back, and especially being a Canadiens fan. The Canadiens were the last team really to make it in the system, so I'm really happy I'm going to get to see playoff hockey, but that comes with a little bit more negatives, which we'll get to later. But let me first finish the positives, and the other positive I see is this system, the 12-team system, the 24-team bracket in total. It's really good for those bubble teams. If we go back to that bracket, again, I think it was made by Hot Take Hockey. I don't want to rip him off or anything. The bubble teams that you see on the extremities, teams such as Vancouver, teams such as Arizona, most notably, teams such as Carolina, so on and so forth, maybe they were in a playoff position before this whole incident happened. But there was a significant chance that they may have missed out. And I think that's really a shame if they don't play the full 82-game season, because they've made some significant moves. They've given up key parts of their future. For example, Vancouver had to give up Madden, a really good young rising star, in order to get Tyler Toffoli, who, if memory serves me right, this is his last year with the team. So imagine if this was your team, you just give up a really good rookie for someone who barely even played a couple of games. You know, it would feel like a complete ripoff. So this is why the system, in actuality, it's really good, because it gives those bubble teams, those teams who gave up a lot of their future, it gives them something to play for. It's not like they just gave up that future for nothing. Again, with the Minnesota Wild, that's another good example. I believe they were outside the playoffs before the whole break happened. I could be wrong, but at the very least, they were a bubble team. they gave up Jason Zucker and they got a few key players here and there. And the Pittsburgh Penguins had to give up rookies in order to get Jason Zucker. Would it be fair to them to just kick them out or whatever? No, it gives them a chance. So that's why I really like the system. It gives the bubble teams a chance, and it gives them reason for giving up those young stars. It's justified. So that's why I really like it. But let's get to the things that I'm a little bit more trepidatious about. And there are a few teams. So, like I said, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, but I won't be wearing Montreal Canadiens rose colored glasses here. I'm going to say it how it is. This doesn't feel deserved. All right. Don't get me wrong. I am very happy. I'm thrilled that I'm going to get to see hockey this spring, or mind you, it's going to be in the fall maybe. But it doesn't really feel deserved. It's no secret to anyone. The Canadiens weren't close to making the playoffs this year. I mean, I think there was mathematically like a 3% chance, or maybe even less, that they were going to make the playoffs. And all of a sudden, because the moons aligned and this huge catastrophe happened, they just got their ticket in. Again, I'm really super happy, but it doesn't feel deserved. It's not like they won games, they got a lot of points. That's not the reason that they're in. They're in because of a huge coincidence, basically, and it doesn't really feel deserved. Now, maybe they're going to go on to win the cup. I don't think it's going to happen. They're going to go on to win the cup, and I'm going to be so happy. This won't even be an issue for me. In other words, I'm going to completely forget about it. But when I look at it, there's always sort of going to be an asterisk next to the Stanley Cup winner. Whoever it is, not just the Canadiens, it could be any other team. There's always going to be that asterisk that perhaps they weren't even supposed to make the playoffs in the first place. So that's the only thing that makes me a little trepidatious, and that's the reason where I'm totally split down the middle. I'm really happy, but at the same time, a little bit confused about seeing this whole situation happen. Again, maybe the hockey is going to start, and I'm completely going to change my mind. Let's keep in mind, I want to keep this really clear, though. If you look at the teams that are going to be battling to play in the first round, it's not like they've made the playoffs already. So, for example, the Montreal Canadiens or the Florida Panthers, or all of the teams that you see there on the side, thanks to this wonderful graph, they haven't made the playoffs. That's a good distinction to make. They're not going to play in the playoffs. They're playing for the playoffs. They're playing in order to exceed into the playoffs. So it would be wrong to totally say that the Canadiens are in the playoff, for example. They're more so playing to be in the playoffs. That's a clear distinction to make, because I'm sure if one of those teams that were outside of the playoffs ends up winning the cup, say by huge coincidence, but we've seen crazier things in hockey, mind you, say they go on to win the cup, I'm sure there's going to be naysayers out there saying, well, they shouldn't have even made the playoffs in the first place. They were supposed to be out. So let's make this distinction right now. It's not like they're in the playoffs. They're playing to be in the first round. They're playing to exceed into the playoffs. So that's a very clear distinction to make, because I can already see it. People are going to start yapping. And this is my advice to you guys. If you don't like this format, if you're going to be pissed off that a non-playoff team ends up winning the cup, put your comments out right now. Put your disagreements out right now. Don't wait until it happens, because then you just look sour that your own team didn't win. If you have a problem, voice your opinion out right now, not when it's too late, because then you just look like a hypocrite. Anyway, that's all I had to say about the new playoff system. Once we get more information about who's going to play who once the first round start, I'm definitely going to do the bracket challenge, maybe also with my co-host, so make sure to stay tuned to that. Oh man, I'm so excited we're finally talking about hockey. More videos to come. So if you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe to the Sin Bin. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, and make sure to join us on Discord. The link is going to be in the description. That's where we have conversation once the lights are shut. So thank you very much for your time. Like and subscribe. My name is Matt. Keep your stick on the